The fateful day is here because I literally have everything for this new iPad Pro because I'm giving it another chance. And I'll explain what that means later, but right now, let's open this thing up and see what's inside because I am really excited to see just how thin this is. Apple's saying it's their thinnest product ever. I'm inclined to believe them. When has Apple ever lied to me? Not usually. It's a nice box, nice wallpaper. And there is the 12.9-inch iPad Pro. Ooh. You know what? What else is in the box? Let's not spoil the fun here. So I heard there's no more Apple stickers in the box. Let's confirm if that's true. Damn it, Tim! You took out my one last bit of joy in life. How could you? So no more Apple stickers. You still got a braided USB-C cable in here, and Apple at least is still including a 20-watt power brick. You can't get that on all their products nowadays, but hey, that's what else is in the iPad Pro box. Let's look at the main event now, the iPad Pro. So let's peel this off. I got it in the silver color. Ooh. Okay, people said you could notice immediately how much lighter and how much thinner the new 12.9. That is insane. That is absolutely insane. It is unreal how thin this thing is. Is it bent? Okay, it's not. Oh, maybe? No, it's not bent. It's not bent, okay? I'm just concerned. But man, this feels excellent in the hand. Hold on, let me set it down on the table. Let me go to pick it. Oh. Okay, that is a nice feeling. People say they don't want thinner Apple products, but man, when you hold this thing, oh, it is effortless to hold. And this is the big iPad Pro. This usually feels like very unwieldy, but just holding it right now, in this moment, it feels great. Look at how thin this thing is. Just look at that thinness. I mean, look at the USB-C port. It's like barely there. Like they have no more room for any other port at this point. They're gonna have to make the ports smaller if they wanna make this thing thinner. That is, ooh, I almost dropped it. It's fragile, we can't do that, but that is crazy. Okay, I cut out all the boring parts, I set this thing up, and oh man, this thing is really impressive. I know we were just talking about how thin this thing is, but I didn't even have a point of comparison here because I have my old M2 iPad Pro here, and I just picked this up already, and I'm like, man, this thing feels chunky. And this thing, deservedly, is already pretty thin, but when you compare it against the new 13-inch iPad Pro, it is so thin. It is crazy how thin this thing actually is, and the most noticeable thing to me is actually the weight reduction here. This thing feels so much lighter than the old 12.9-inch iPad Pro. I only think it shaved about like 0.2 or 0.3 pounds off of it, but that makes a huge difference when you're holding this thing. It almost feels like holding like an old 11-inch iPad Air in your hand. It feels that much lighter. Like I pick up my old iPad Pro in this hand and I just hold them both in one hand for a while. And this one starts to drag down. You're like, okay, I want to put this thing down. And this one, you can kind of just like hold it all day. And I've always liked the big screen size on the 12.9-inch iPad Pro, but it always just felt a little bit too unwieldy, a little bit too heavy. And I put up with that sacrifice, especially when it got the exclusive mini LED display. But now I use this version, and I was kind of thinking when I bought this, I was going, ooh, maybe I should get the 11-inch. The 12.9-inch was always just a little bit too big for me. But now I think I made the right choice. I hold this and I go, wow, this feels so good in the hands. I feel like Apple finally perfected this bigger size iPad with the release of the 13-inch. So yeah, crazy thin. Like one more point of comparison I just wanna make here is a MacBook Pro. Now we can look at both of them and it is insane how thin the iPad Pro is when you compare it against a full MacBook, right? But forget that. Let's open up this lid. Take a look at the thinness of the iPad Pro just compared to the lid of the MacBook Pro. Now the lid of the MacBook Pro is still thinner, but it's close. It is so close. You could almost imagine Apple maybe one day, maybe hopefully, just taking all this technology that they have in the iPad Pro with the touchscreen, with the OLED display, maybe even put the computing power, a battery in there, and you could envision, with this device especially, some sort of MacBook iPad hybrid. Will they do it? Probably not, because they want to keep these products separate for some reason, but you just look at the technology and the hardware of this thing, and it's impressive. Speaking of impressive hardware, the OLED display in this just looks great. Now listen, I've been using a mini LED iPad Pro for a while now, so I'm not like completely wowed by like the tandem OLED display in some regards. Like if you look at like the basic, just like the home screen, like it looks good, but it's not exactly mind-blowing. But the brightness on this is pretty bright. Like I was comparing it to my old 12.9-inch iPad Pro, and I wouldn't say like, oh, it's drastically brighter, but there's certain things you notice. Like I was holding it up against my studio light, and by going up to a full 1000 nits on this OLED now, you just saw a lot less glare. And then when you looked at the other iPad Pro, it just looked washed out. You saw a bunch of glare. And on this one, you didn't get that as much. So if you're using this in like a brighter light source, I think that's when you're really gonna appreciate that brighter display. And then the other thing with the OLED display is that it just gets perfect black levels. Now the mini LED display got really good black levels, but again, this can actually turn individual pixels on and off. So when you see a dark black scene on here, those pixels are off. It is truly black. There's no sort of blooming issues that the 12.9-inch did have sometimes. Like this, you look at it from any angle, it looks great. Fantastic viewing angles. Like you can look at this from like any side. It looks great. The colors are so bright, so vivid. Man, it is just, I mean, yeah, when Apple said it's the best display they make, they're not lying to you. This is the best display they make. This is obviously the biggest OLED panel they've made. And I look at this technology and I'm excited for this to come to all of Apple's products. I want to see this thing on a MacBook. I want to see this thing on a studio display. That would be insane. But yeah, everything else you love about the iPad's display technology, like ProMotion, is still here. It's just that it got a little bit better with the overall display technology, and that's a good thing. And while we're covering all like the hardware aspects of this device, I just gotta to the M4 chip. Now I know this is just a benchmark here, but man, that is impressive. The fact that this M4 chip is scoring so high, the fastest single core performance, not out of any iPad, not out of any Mac, but currently out of the rankings, out of any computer in the entire world, is impressive. And then you look at that multi-core score, almost 15,000 multi-core score. Again, I know it's just a benchmark, but the fact that the theoretical performance on this iPad Pro is as fast as like a MacBook Pro from like a year ago, it's outstanding, like how good the M4 chip is. And I can't believe like it's debuting in such a thin and light device. Like the M4 chip already, if you put it in a thick computer, it's like, oh, that's pretty impressive. You put it in a thin enclosure like this with no fan, that is even crazier to me. And listen, I've been playing around with this iPad Pro. I've been using like testing out Logic and Final Cut, and I haven't really dove that deep into it. But what I can say is, while downloading apps in the background and using all these certain tasks that are, gonna peg the system, I actually noticed this thing didn't really get all too hot. And that was something I was concerned with the thinner profile, but Apple said they improved the thermal efficiency by like 20% by adding graphite sheets into it. And yeah, that seems to be pretty on point here, because this thing feels really cool to the touch, and that's good. But yeah, this iPad Pro is super impressive with the hardware. But there's also a lot that goes into this iPad experience. And for this Pro in particular, I really think half the story with it is also the accessories. So this is the new Apple Pencil Pro. I really like this box. Now I haven't tested this out yet. I kind of wanted to do this live. So we would just put this on top of here. Again, you're gonna see just how thin this iPad Pro is. Look how thick the Apple Pencil is in comparison to it. And we're just gonna pair that up. You can see there's a new squeeze gesture here. Let's try scribble. Okay, we can try doing this, blah, blah, blah. Oh, and then the Apple Pencil now has Find My. I guess that's a good addition. Okay, so this feels very similar to the Apple Pencil 2, but obviously it has some new features, right? So when you squeeze this now, you can actually see some like tools pop up, and you can actually get like a bunch of them over here. So let's pick the drawing tool, and you can see, you can kind of change the opacity here. You can change the brush thickness. That stuff's pretty cool. You squeeze it goes away. And yeah, you can kind of just pick out these different tools. You can undo things. So If I go like this, I can squeeze, hit undo, hit undo. That's pretty cool. I actually really like the haptics in this. It feels very similar to a MacBook trackpad click. And then the other new feature was that you can actually like do a barrel roll, they say, but it just changes the position of the brush. So you can see I'm holding the Apple Pencil like this. It's gonna be a wide brush going this way. But if I turn it, then it'll start being like thinner like that, going down. And again, I think you can kind of just do this in like real time and orient the brush, make it thinner, make it wider. And you get a nice preview with the Apple Pencil hover feature before you put that down. Again, I'm not really an artist, so not too much to cover here just yet, but maybe I'll try and learn to be a better artist and test this Apple Pencil Pro out more thoroughly. But hey, it feels pretty cool. It has some nice new features that I think artists are gonna like. But then the accessory I'm more excited for personally is this new Magic Keyboard, which is supposed to be a little bit lighter and also made from more premium material. That actually does feel a little bit lighter than the old keyboard design. I think it's only about like a 50 grams difference, but it does feel a little bit lighter. So you just prop it on to the keyboard like the old one. So you just put it there, it snaps on, and your keyboard's connected. I really like that metal finish on this one. I saw that white keyboard and I was like, ooh, that looks really, really clean, especially with that silver model, right? And yeah, I mean, metal feels nice. Let's close this up, see how thin the overall package is. So that's what it looks like closed up with the Apple Pencil on. Let's take that Apple Pencil off. That's interesting. So the hinge thing over here feels like it looks like a little bit of a different design, but you can still see there's a USB-C port in there. All work and no play makes Greg a dull boy. So keys feel very similar to the old Magic Keyboard. It's just that instead of fabric on the bottom, there's now metal. Oh, and the trackpad. So this is now bigger, which is nice. This is a pretty generous sized trackpad. You get all your gestures, and it's not a physical click anymore. It's just like the MacBook trackpad. Oh, and that feels really, really nice. So it's a glass trackpad. It has the same haptics as the MacBook, and it's bigger. Then you also get that row of function keys, which is the first time they're doing that on the Magic Keyboard for the iPad Pro. So you can change the brightness, change the volume really quickly.
Another thing that goes hand in hand with this new Magic Keyboard setup is that the camera is now in the landscape orientation, just like it would be on a laptop. So that makes these video calls a lot more natural. If it was, down here in the profile view, it was always at like just a little bit of an awkward angle. So if you're staring directly at the screen, it looks more natural instead of staring over here on the camera where it looks like I'm looking off to the side. So this is a better setup. And then I should also mention that they removed a camera. They removed the ultra wide camera off the back. Don't know if anyone cares about that, but they did. I don't care.
So some nice improvements on the Magic Keyboard in general. And this is the accessory I was more excited for than the Apple Pencil, because if I'm going to be using this iPad Pro, I need a physical keyboard because I plan to do a lot of writing on it. But yeah, those are pretty much the accessories here. They look nice and premium. Obviously, this is like the most premium iPad package ever in existence. It actually is pretty crazy how sleek this thing looks. But the iPad Pro has always had really good hardware. The problem with this, at least for a lot of people, including myself, has always been software. And when I said I was going to give this iPad Pro another chance, I meant that. The reason why I got this product was because the hardware is insane. This is, without a doubt, probably the best hardware that Apple makes right now, minus the Vision Pro. That's why I was a little hesitant there. The Vision Pro is very futuristic. That might be the best hardware. But when you're talking about their mainstream products, iPhone, iPad, and Mac, this right now, I feel like has the most advanced technology in it. As a whole, it has the most ambitious design as a whole. And just holding this now, I feel inspired to use it because the hardware is that good. I want to use this, I want to like it. But iPadOS has always been the thing for me. And listen, Apple has made some improvements to this product that, in the past, I've always said like, oh, they should add Final Cut Pro. Well, they kind of do have Final Cut Pro now. It's technically not the full Mac version, but hey, it's something, right? They have video editors. There's DaVinci Resolve on this. You can run Logic on this. They have made a lot of improvements to how professional this iPad Pro is. And they've even added like windowed like applications. Like you can use Stage Manager, you can get windowed applications, but it still isn't, at least for me, easier to use than the Mac. And maybe that's my problem. Maybe I need to force myself to use this a little bit, get used to how iPadOS works, and maybe I'll walk away going, you know what? I get it now. I see why this thing is so versatile. I see why this thing is really good to use, but I'm not sure yet, right? I'm gonna give it a try. I'm gonna see, hey, is this iPad Pro for me? And I plan on using it over my MacBook for a little while. But that's for another video on my thoughts about that. So for now, what I gotta say is this hardware is insanely impressive. What I would say in particular is if you always like the idea of having a bigger iPad, but you were turned off by like the weight and just the handling of it, give this 13-inch one, give it a try. It feels amazing. Like this is a really compelling package. And then, yeah, if you want the most premium iPad out there, even if you don't care about that software, well, this is the most premium package, right? You're getting a lot of benefits over the air in terms of the display technology, in terms of the thin design, even with the performance, the M4 chip. If you can take advantage of that, if you're someone that can use drawing applications, you edit video or photos on it, I mean, it's gonna be faster, right? So yeah, so far just really blown away by the hardware on this thing, and I can't wait to use it more. But that's gonna do it for this video. Let me know, what do you think about the new M4 iPad Pro? I can't believe I'm saying M4. Do you think it's worth it? Are you still hung up on iPadOS? Let me know what you think in the comments below. As always, if you like this video, make sure to give me a like. If you want to see more, make sure you're subscribed. And as always, I'll catch you in the next one. Take care, everyone.